Hey good people, and welcome back to the channel. It's Monday, and I got another review in store for all of you. In a few moments, you'll get to hear my thoughts and feelings on episode 3 of the Kings of Napa. And just like my last review for the Kings of Napa, instead of giving a traditional recap and review, I will just hit on the important storylines throughout the episode and give my opinion on it. So without any further delay, let's jump right in. Episode 3, entitled What's Pork Gotta Do With It, primarily focuses on 4 storylines. First, Dana and August addressing the problem of the extortionist. Second, the battle between August and Dana for ideas on a new dessert wine. Third, Vanessa continuing to wreak havoc on the family. And fourth, Bridget forging her own path. Let's start off with the first storyline. Towards the beginning of the episode, we as the audience are introduced to a new character named Quincy. Quincy is Dana's frat brother, and he is someone who specializes in solving problems. The show really doesn't discuss how Quincy can be useful towards finding who the extortionist is, and Quincy doesn't really seem to be a professional at doing his job. But nevertheless, August and Dana agree to hire him, even if it comes at a great expense. Later in the episode, Quincy updates August and lets her know that the extortionist could be one of 3 people. 1, a person involved in a Ponzi scheme. 2, someone who tried to sue Reggie for malpractice. Or 3, Otis, the vineyard employee that's been giving Christian a hard time. Quincy tasked August with helping him narrow down the choices. So towards the middle of the episode, August has a very brief conversation with Otis about Reggie and his time working for the family. And that conversation was apparently enough for August to rule out Otis as a possible subject. Now I'm sorry, but this has to be said. I don't completely trust August's judgment in the matter, but it's entertaining to watch her problem solved nonetheless. Towards the end of the episode, Quincy briefs Dana and lets her know that Otis is still a suspect. Dana then tasks Quincy with digging up dirt on August. Now aside from how laughable the Quincy character is, or how Dana is hiring a friend to handle sensitive family business, I found this storyline to be pretty entertaining and easy to follow. Next, let's talk about the dessert wine showdown between August and Dana. In the beginning of the episode, August meets with Grace, who is an expert winemaker, and she convinces Grace to make the dessert wine for the family. Later on, Dana joins Grace and August to find out what Grace needs to make the wine. Dana sees that Grace's services are costing the family an arm and a leg, and the family simply doesn't have the money for it. But August simply ignores the advice of the family's financial expert and puts all her faith in Grace, which adds to my observation that August has no business running this company. Towards the middle of the episode, there's a fallout between Dana and August because Dana hired another winemaker that can make a good dessert wine at half the cost. This causes Dana and August to come up with a contest, which allows the family to vote on which wine is the best. At the contest, August of course wins, but how she won was surprising. Dana's wife Rose breaks the tie vote amongst the family, and her decision to go against Dana caused Dana to act a complete fool. Dana says some very hurtful things to Rose, and I wouldn't be surprised if their marriage takes a turn for the worst over Rose's decision to support August. Now the storyline was not only interesting, but it's also relatable, because anybody that's ever worked within a reputable organization would definitely have some experience working with people who are idealists versus those that care about the bottom line. And while I can understand that August is looking for the future, it will be interesting to see how much her vision costs the business. Now let's talk about the craziest storyline of the episode, which is Vanessa acting a damn fool. We are introduced to Vanessa in this episode being greeted by Christian, and he sees that Vanessa has been hitting one too many bottles around the house. And of course, Christian can't really say anything meaningful about Vanessa's trip into madness, because he is her child, and because he doesn't pay any bills around the house. But because of Vanessa's actions, Kelvin pays August a visit, and he lets her know that she reneged on her settlement with Melanie and Bridget. August uses her charm to work Kelvin over, but she fails to realize that at the end of the day, Melanie could truly destroy the family business if she wanted to. So Vanessa starts to show her crazy side by trying to hack into Reggie's computer. After getting locked out of his computer, Vanessa comes up with the bright idea to go to Melanie's house, break in, gain unauthorized access to Melanie's computer, and search for Melanie's dirty secrets. Vanessa is interrupted by the sound of Yvette and Melanie entering the house, so Melanie hides in the closet while Melanie and Yvette use the time to talk about Vanessa and how Yvette knew about Reggie's infidelities. What I find interesting about this show is how certain folks are just lurking about, and they just so happen to be at the right place at the right time when a family secret is being revealed. I also find it interesting that Vanessa thinks it's wise to commit a series of felonies against the person that could destroy her business if she so chose to do so. Vanessa surely isn't the sharpest tool in the shed, but she's pretty vindictive. So much so that when she escapes Melanie's closet and returns home, she hires movers and kicks Yvette out of the family home for knowing about Reggie's affair and not saying anything about it. Now I know this show takes place in the land of make-believe, but in the real world, at least in certain states, Vanessa would have to file for a formal eviction before kicking Yvette out. So indeed the storyline is silly, but while talking to Vanessa, Yvette lets it slip that Vanessa wanted to abort Dana. And just like clockwork, Dana just happens to be there when the secret is revealed. And he responded the exact way I would expect him to. It will be interesting to see how Vanessa treats Dana in the future episodes, because it's clear that Dana is on a mission to get whatever power he can and use it to screw over his enemies. And lastly, let's talk about Bridget. In this episode, we learn a lot more about her character. She was more valuable to the company than the previous episodes led us to believe. But after August screwed her out of a job, Bridget made a decision to branch out from the family business and work for a rival winemaker. In addition to that, Bridget and Rose have established a good friendship with one another, and if I were a betting man, I would say that Rose would eventually leave the family business and team up with Bridget to form their own wine business. But on a scale of 1 to 10, I will give this episode a 6. The storyline throughout the season can be easily described as silly, but entertaining. And I know the show can be a little dumb at times, but I appreciate that it doesn't take itself too seriously, kind of like Tyler Perry's The Oval or Ruthless, which makes it a joy to watch. But this marks the end of my review, and I look forward to bringing you a review of the new Kings of Napa episode on tomorrow. But feel free to leave a comment below in the comment section, and I'll be sure to reply to each and every comment. Until next time, stay tuned and stay safe. Peace.